Oh my god, lads, here it is! Oh, lovely. So after I do this, I will be able to fucking stream my PMV. Well, making my PMV. Anyway, I can't really call this blind Snowbound blood anymore because since last volume I have I've read through Vastera, I've caught up with it, so now I know everything that's happening in it, so what a shame I can't call this blind Snowbound blood anymore, but oh yes! Volume 10! Oh, of shots animated and leaden, I don't fucking know. I'm already stumbling over the words. Oh my god, Crichton though! Crichton is like Transmask rights. I want to be Crichton. Oh, we're in the end game now. Each gambit draws ever closer to a convincing checkmate. Time to move the next piece. So now we're gonna do Crichton Lydian. Oh, lovely. Content warning. This route contains discussion of a relationship abuse and trauma? Oh, well, I guess that's a content warning, guys. Glomer's late. You pace in front of his home unit compound, trying to keep out of sight of any of the other occupants. One in particular you very much want to avoid. Running into Sabine Bera would be a surefire way to waste time, and that's already in pitifully short supply. You don't hear any music coming from the building presently though, which you take as a sign that he's either not home or asleep. Regardless, you would rather err on the side of caution, so you make sure to confine your agitated pacing to where it will remain mostly unseen and hopefully unheard. The back of your neck itches. There's no one in sight, either outdoors or at the windows, but you feel as though you're being watched, trapped in a maze, albeit not the hedge kind. Please say Necron's here. Doubt and unease have become your constant companions. Try as you might, you can't keep your thoughts from unfurling and catching on the scabs of wounds both old and new. Where's Necron? Your whole body protests as you beat a path against the hard ground, but the rhythm of it clears your mind and steals your resolve. You're so very tired. You're more tired than you can remember ever being, but you'll see this through. If there was ever a point you could give up, you've long since passed it. You must press on, and Glomer is your liaison with your next interviewee. You're starting to wonder whether convincing Hamifi to let him leave earlier was even worth it, and when he's being so tardy. Oh god. Perhaps you can just speed matters along and make your own introductions. Just as you spin on your right heel for the 16th time, a familiar silhouette appears within your field of vision. Finally. Here he is! Is Necron not here with us? Necron had better be in fucking Hyan's route then. Glomer's moving slowly as he approaches you, wobbling from one leg to the other so severely that you wonder he's going to topple over before he reaches you. If he were anyone else, you might wonder if he was inebriated. As it is, you mostly wonder whether he somehow managed to fall asleep walking. His eyes are open though. He walks up to you and blinks blearily. You're late. Pleasure to see you too, Chief Regulator. Trust me, if I had any sort of decision-making power down there, I would have been here on time. Turns out, even with the extenuating circumstances, I just could not get the boss lady to let me off the hook. You feel a pang of sympathy at that, mixed with annoyance. Perhaps it really wasn't his fault that you didn't get here sooner. Your pulling strings with Hamifi only managed to get him half a shift off, though you're hardly surprised she kept him longer anyway. You wish she hadn't made you wait, but you do not have the privilege of being frustrated with her. Your purpose here is quite clear, and you've loitered long enough. Shall we head in? Yeah. Would be great if you could finish your investigating before the rest of the boys got here, by the way, thanks. Right. Glomer made a point of informing you about his and Crichton's evening plans. All the more reason to keep this visit brief. He trudges towards the entrance and you follow along. I hope I'm not being too loud. While he fumbles with the door, he begins, unprompted, to relay to you why he didn't make it to your meeting on time. His words wash over you, though any meaning becomes lost as they blend together into a crackling static noise. Oh, what's happening? You're so very tired. You can feel the beginnings of a headache, but you rub the bridge of your nose and focus on the matter at hand. Ormsey Mort. Noxious. You're getting close now. You must get his location, and Glomer's Matesprit has the necessary expertise. You need to convince him to help you by whatever means necessary. A story is a heavy thing. Perhaps it's been unkind to place the brunt of its weight upon a singular pair of shoulders. Let us have someone else share the burden once more. Oh, Mashiri? Your name is... Oh, Werecrite! Oh, nice, fucking Utena. Who else? Dio! Oh, I've never seen JoJo or fucking Utena. Dr. Pepper! Oh. Your name is Crichton Lydian, and you're waiting for your Matesprit to come home. You're sitting at your desk, making good use of your day off by catching up on the latest news and rumours surrounding your favourite media franchises. Your Lucis purrs away in your lap. I am not good at reading. Currently, you're perusing some articles on Polyhedron, your go-to website to keep up to date on all things anime. Some leaks of dubious veracity suggest that Araki is considering a return to an older form, away from the hyper-intense and intricate battle formulas the show is now infamous for. I don't know what that means. Purists are getting into heated arguments over the absence of the power grades that so closely resemble Repeton's arcane myths in yet another brazen universe-shifting installment. You roll your eyes. Honestly, people will get so mad over every potential creative decision. It's not like these sudden pivots have always been a part of the show or anything. Anyway, anime opinions aside, work has been even more hectic than usual, with long hours spent at corporate trying to stay ahead of deadlines that never seem to stop multiplying. Not that you aren't grateful to be entrusted with more responsibilities, far from it, but it's also meant that you often come home long after Glomer's left for work. You miss him. You've been trying to schedule more time to spend together, but between both of your jobs, it's kind of a hellish task. Tonight, though, you'll finally be able to meet up with him and the rest of the boys. You're going to watch some anime. Oh god. It's something you've been really looking forward to. Just as you glance at the clock on your screen, the soft click of the door unlocking comes from the hallway. The familiar comforting rumble of Glomer's voice pours into the unit and settles like a ball of warmth inside your chest. Platycat doesn't wake up, but her purring grows louder. Another voice slices through the room, clipped and sharp, quiet but authoritative. Platycat sits up with a start, then hops out of your arms. Hey! She dashes to the corner of the room, her tail standing at attention as she looks around, tense. You guess you can't really blame her for being wary of strangers. You stare at her for a moment, all too aware of the absence where her soothing weight was just moments ago. Then you stand up and move to greet your guest. I'm going to take a drink. This week's sponsored, not sponsored drink is Sunny D. Big childhood favourite, that. Glomer told you about the chief regulator who wanted to speak to you. She was working on a case, he said, and needed some help that you might be able to provide. You agreed, partly because it would mean Glomer could get off work early, but partly because it didn't really seem like you had the option not to. From what Glomer had gathered, she was pretty firmly set on it, and saying no to a determined regulator doesn't tend to be the best idea. It'll be fine, probably. You'll just answer her questions and help as much as you can, and afterwards you'll be free to spend a relaxing evening with Glomer and the others. You shake the apprehension out of your head and wander into the hallway. There they are. Want me to get you some slippers or something? I'm fine, thank you. New Cecily sprite! Oh! The chief regulator looks like her voice sounds, stern and put together. Her jaw is set in a tight line as she surveys the interior of your hive. When her eyes meet yours, there's an intensity in them that's almost scathing. Your gaze darts to the floor. Yo, Cry. He pads across the floor to your side to kiss your cheek, and you can't help but smile. Oh! Hi, Glow. Welcome home. This is your favourite time of day, especially now that you've been able to spend less time with Glomer. The laid-back, comfortable affection between you always puts you at ease without fail. Oh. Lacing your fingers with his, you look at the regulator again. The regulator says, I hate gay men. Hi, Chief Regulator. Glomer told me you wanted to speak to me. Cecily's fine. And yes, I need your assistance with the case I'm working on. That's interesting, like, Cecily being like, oh, you can call me Cecily straight away. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me. Beside you, Gloma scoffs under his breath. You're clearly not the only one who didn't think he had a say in the matter. Despite that, you try to put a smile on your face. The regulator, Cecily, seems polite enough, and you don't want to be rude to a guest. Of course, I hope I can help. Should we go to my office to talk? That's an excellent idea. You turn to look at Gloma and, oh, he doesn't seem super great. The bags under his eyes are even bigger than usual, and his skin looks pale and dull. It's a bit concerning. You want me to stick around, Cry? Fair warning though, I'm not going to be very good company. He blinks so slowly that you aren't sure if he's going to open his eyes again for a second. It wouldn't be the first time he fell asleep standing. You give his hand a squeeze. It's okay, Glow. You should get some rest before the others get here. Are you sure? You lean in and give him a peck on the lips. I love how Cecily's like, Cecily, the misandrist. I'm so sorry. A little smile lights up his tired face and you feel a burst of joy. Oh, I see what's going on here. Cecily's reminded of her and Alina by watching Gloma and Crichton. Oh! I am. Don't forget to set an alarm. Okay. I'm gonna go crash then. Shout if you need anything, alright? You smile and give him a nod. With a soft grunt, he lets go of your hand and heads for the respite block. See you, Regulator. He's walked through the door before she can respond. She stares after him for a moment, one eyebrow raised, and then focuses on you again. Shall we then? Yes, this way please. Cecily follows you back into your office. You stop in the centre of it and turn to her, suddenly unsure how to proceed. It's been a while since you last had a stranger in your home. Make yourself comfortable? You don't intend for it to come out sounding like a question, but it does, and you try to bite back the embarrassment. You rub your arm. Oh, this makes it seem as if, Crichton's got some, stuff going on in his mind. My throat is so dry. Cecily doesn't reply immediately. After another moment of silence, you pull out your chair and sink into it. Working at corporate, you've caught glimpses of some of the regulators, but you haven't had much cause to cross paths with them. Now that the chief regulator herself is standing in the middle of your office, you're struck by how, well, out of place she looks. She's like something out of a story, with the crisp angles of her coat and the visor hiding one of her eyes. A rapier, épée, hands at her hip, and the pommel seems almost too shiny. You bought a replica sword at a convention once, but you have no doubt this one is the real deal. You don't envy all the trolls who found themselves at the business end of this weapon, though they must have deserved it. For sure. You realise you're staring, but Cecily doesn't seem to have noticed. She's scanning the room with her brow furrowed. Cecily, the anime phobe. I'm so sorry. Is something wrong? Her attention snaps back to you. A moment later, her expression clears. All the lesbians are going to be squealing right now. Not at all. She takes a deep breath and crosses her arms. So the purpose of my visit, I assume Gloma has already told you why I wanted to speak to you. Well, he didn't know the particulars, so some extra context would definitely be nice. Very well, allow me to give you the lowdown. You nod and Cecily clears her throat before she begins to speak. She tells you about a stolen item and being tasked to retrieve it, and the person behind it all taunting her at every step. She speaks of cultists and hermits and happenstances that are too convenient to be coincidental. Then she mentions a suspect who has a history of harassing trolls on the internet, and something heavy settles in your chest. Ooh, maybe Crichton and Noxious have like a past or something, maybe. So, as I have been informed, you know your way around computers. I need your assistance in tracking down my suspect. The regulator has concluded her story. You clear your throat, struggling to form words. You said this person has also bullied other trolls online? Correct. He has a pattern of harassing vulnerable people into hurting themselves. It sounds so matter-of-fact the way she says it. Simple. Totally removed from the dread of seeing your oldest fears staring at you from your computer screen. It's either that Crichton has a past with Noxious himself, or that like someone else in Crichton's past has cyberbullied him or something. You grab your arm to steady yourself. Do you know what handle he uses? Cecily's eyes narrow at you, but after a moment she says, he goes by Obnoxious Antidote. Surely you've wondered what the consequences might be if your little secret came out. Oh! Your grip on your arm tightens. Crichton does have a past with Noxious. Ever since you blocked him, you've tried to forget that handle. You've gotten better at it. You've gotten better at not thinking about all that stuff in general, but yeah, Cecily comes in and causes trauma. You're familiar with that alias, aren't you? It seems you don't have much of a choice in the matter right now. She's neutral when she says it, and if it weren't for the lock of her jaw, she might as well be asking about the weather. You breathe out, reminding yourself that he's got no power over you, and try to answer with the same ease. Yes, he's contacted me too. Suddenly, Cecily seems to take up more of the room, her shoulders squaring, hand darting to the hilt of her rapier, and you realise she has more feelings about this than she lets on. I assure you, no harm is going to come to you. Has he threatened you? You hear yourself laughing to your own surprise, though there isn't any humour in it. You needed that kind of certainty when it was happening, but the only people you could rely on for it were those close to you. It worked out. No, don't worry about it, I'm safe. Are you certain? Yeah, the stuff he's got on me doesn't affect me anymore, it's all in the past. You try to give her what you hope is a reassuring smile. You refuse to think about this now, about OA's threats in your life before Stronghold 21. Oh, Crichton. Not today. You were looking forward to today. Oh, Crichton! Don't worry about me, Cecily. She stares at you for another beat. You glance away, wishing that she'd drop it. When she doesn't say anything more, you change the topic yourself. So, you wanted me to track him down? That's right. Can you do it? She's back to business in an instant with that same fierce determination from before in her eyes. You nod. I'll do my best. Your computer comes to life with a low whir when you move the mouse. The course of action is already charted out in your mind. You might have daydreamed about doing this exact thing before. It's a little exciting, honestly, like getting to star in a proper mystery show for an episode or two. As the thought pops into your mind, you feel Cecily draw closer, peering over your shoulder. You force yourself not to flinch. His name's Auncey Mort and he's 8 sweeps old. Besides Obnoxious Antidote, he also goes by Noxious. His sign is Dissolve, if any of that is useful. I was just going to use the messages he sent to me over Scorp to track his IP. Oh. Very well then. You boot up Scorp and navigate to the blocked users section, only hesitating for a second before you unblock OA. Your insides twist with apprehension, but luckily he's offline. Then it's just a matter of popping open a few windows, inputting a few lines, and a loading bar appears on the screen. You lean back, brushing some hair off your face. So far so good. In the absence of clicking keys, the room once again gets very quiet. I'm surprised your neighbour is so considerate today. Huh? Your confusion must be written across your face because she's quick to clarify. Sabine, I came over to talk to him recently and he seemed determined to tear this building apart with his music. Oh, that little troublemaker. You've no idea what kind of business a corporate regulator could possibly have with him, but the comment makes you chuckle. You're really not too far from the truth. Sabine's a great kid, but he really likes turning the volume all the way up. You cast an apprehensive glance at the ceiling, as if talking of Sabine might summon him. The ceiling remains blessedly silent. It kinda makes living here a little difficult sometimes. I don't enjoy loud noises very much. Cecily's mouth curves into she. Okay, there's something that's almost a smile and full of sympathy. Yes, I know how that goes. Oh, God. Please don't let Cecily fucking traumatize fucking Crichton again like she did with Kretus and Gerbat. Please! Like, from this, I'd say that, like, Cecily likes Crichton. Like, well, doesn't dislike him anyway. He's not home right now, though, so don't worry about it getting loud anytime soon. I'm glad to hear that. You give her a smile before focusing back on the screen. As if on cue, the loading bar fills with a ding. It's been a while since you last did this kind of thing, but you quickly settle into a rhythm. The process is like assembling a puzzle, and now you have your pieces. So how does this whole thing work? The sudden question gives you a start, and you turn to look at Cecily. She gestures to your workstation. The method you're using to track Ormsey. Oh, this you can answer pretty well. It's pretty straightforward, really. I'm using the information that's already contained in the messages that he sent me. See, because he has Scorp installed on his device like a computer or a tablet, there's a direct connection that I can use to find out where that device is. So when I ping it, I'm going to get an IP address that will correspond to his location. Cecily's giving you the full weight of her attention, which is kind of intimidating, but you can't tell from her expression if she's following. Does that make sense? Yes, I believe so. I hadn't realised tracking someone down on the internet was such a simple process. Well, you wouldn't call it exactly simple. There's a bit more to it than that, but I'm pretty good at this, I think. Also, it gets a lot more complicated if you're using a VPN or some other means to try to hide your location. I see. You're saying Ormsey is using no such means? He doesn't seem to be. You mentally scratch your head. With OA's behaviour during the few interactions you had, not having some kind of online privacy network does strike you as a little odd. Cecily seems to share the concern. She crosses her arms, looking between you and the screen with her eyes narrowed. You feel like you've done something wrong. Is there a problem, Cecily? No, I suppose not. Her consternated expression really doesn't make you believe her, but she speaks again before you've decided whether to press it. How long is this going to take? Well, if it's not encrypted, it'll only take a few minutes, but... Yep, just as you expected. You close the error message. Yeah, seems that it is encrypted. Can't have it be too easy, I guess. You giggle, but the sound peters out almost immediately. You shift your attention back to the screen. I already love Crichton, dude. Does this mean we're stuck? Oh no, not at all. This'll take a bit longer, though. You go back to typing while you explain. You're not about to give up so easily. I have a program that I can run the IP through in order to decrypt it. It's a bit slower, but it shouldn't take too long. Got it. Thank you for the explanation, Crichton. Sure thing. You go back to work. The measured, comforting click of the keyboard fills the room again. Are all these posters from cartoons? You peer up from your screen, smiling as you try to see which part of your display she's looking at. It's the Utena one. Of course she's looking at that one, of course! She's got good taste! Oh, it's anime. Most of them are from series, and there are a couple of movies too. Animated ones. Yes. I see. This isn't the first time someone reacts to your mention of anime like it's something to look down on, but it doesn't make it any more pleasant. People have no appreciation for Repetton's more independent media, you swear, especially a series as underground as Utena. Cecily must have noticed your displeasure, because after a moment of deliberation she makes a peace offering. What is your favourite, anime? She says the word like it tastes weird. You appreciate her trying though, and you welcome the opportunity to introduce another person to the magic of the best show of all time. Oh, it's absolutely revolutionary girl Utena. You point to the poster she was looking at again, a pink-haired girl holding another darker-haired one in an intimate protective embrace. You get choked up thinking about all the symbolism of a fuchsia blood character rejecting tradition and fighting for what she believes in. You could talk about Utena for hours. You actually have. Globo can vouch for that. It's so good. It starts off kind of silly and whimsical, but it's actually a really thoughtful look into a lot of serious topics such as agency and cycles of abuse. The cast is full of very interesting and complicated characters with complex relationships to each other, and the main plotline revolves around Utena and Anthe's love. Like, I've not seen like the series Utena before, but I've seen like some clips of the movie, like Adolescence of Utena or something. All I know is that there's lesbians in it and sword fighting, just like Snowbound blood. The way that a relationship that transcends quadrants is the axis the whole show's story pivots on is a bold choice that no mainstream show would ever risk. It's funny and weird and heartbreaking, and the story helped me through some hard times and made me realise a lot about myself. You're about to get to Utena's deconstruction of the prince role and its connotations as an allegory for gender, along with some very topical commentary on the Renaissance's social hierarchy. That's when you notice that Cecily's eyes have gotten a bit glassy. Right. What are the chances a complete stranger would care about your passionate dissertation on a cartoon? Oh, Crichton, I'd listen! You sigh and feel yourself deflating. Sorry, I'm rambling. No need to apologise, Crichton. That's how I am, honestly. Like, if I talk about one thing for too fucking long, I'm always like, I'm so fucking sorry. Thank you for indulging me. Oh god, I sound like I've got a cold, haven't I? God, my mother had a cold, so I'm probably fucking getting it again. Yeah, it's just a very good show. Her eyes linger on the poster for another second. It sounds like one. You're not sure how sincere her comment is exactly, but with a small nod you go back to work. Another few seconds pass before Cecily speaks again. Glomer mentioned that you had plans with the boys tonight. With the way she says the name, you can tell she's capitalising both words and none too happy about it. It's kind of funny how offended she seems by the moniker's existence. She's offended by boys. Yeah, with Bitcoin and Indari, I believe you've met them. You know for a fact she did. Both of them told you and Glomer about their very different experiences with the Chief Regulator. Cecily's fingers twitch towards her rapier, I don't fucking know how to pronounce it again. You think it's safe to say she's not remembering one of those encounters very fondly. You think of the cut on Bitcon's neck and swallow, your mouth suddenly dry. He downplayed the situation at the time, but even sheath, the blade makes you uneasy. We try to spend as much time together as our jobs and, well, everything else allows us. Her expression softens, encouraging you to keep going. Even if it's just watching some stuff together. I think it's good to have this tradition, if that makes sense. Work is stressful for all of us, and you've seen how Glomer is. You hope he's having a good nap. Cecily shifts her weight from one foot to the other and her eyes dart to the door. Is something wrong? Not at all, I'm just sorry to intrude on your evening plans. You try to smile at her, but it feels tacked on, forced. It's not a problem, I realise that it's an important case. You only get a non-committal hum in response. The silence that follows doesn't help the awkwardness. It's fine, you only need to wait for this to finish decrypting. Glomer is your mate, Sprit, correct? Yes. Despite the circumstances, this is a topic that perks you up right away. You feel your face splitting into a smile. We moved in together a couple of sweeps ago because we figured it would be easier to make time for each other if we shared a living space. It's been really good. It's nice to be able to come home to someone. You decide to venture a question of your own. It's only polite, right? Oh, what about you, Cecily? Her expression drains of all warmth. I live alone. Silence falls over the room once again. You're not really sure what you did wrong, but there was an invisible line and you crossed it. The air is heavy with something you don't quite understand. But you do get loneliness, you think. You didn't have anyone to come home to when you first moved into the stronghold, not even Platycat. You tried to fill the emptiness with work and with your hobbies, but you were drifting. It took time to find something to anchor you. Crichton. Cecily's staring at you with an expression you can't read. You feel yourself tense up. Yeah? You mentioned that Ormsey has contacted you before. Does he have any information on you that I should know about? This again. As helpful as you're trying to be, you don't appreciate the line of questioning. No, it's old stuff. It doesn't matter anymore. You say it with more conviction than you feel, but it still doesn't seem to satisfy her. Cecily sighs. Come on, don't fuck up this thing. Come on. I apologise for pressing this, but it is my job to protect people, and I believe that Ormsey is dangerous enough to warrant a certain level of caution. You cross your arms against the frustration that builds up inside you. I'm not underestimating how dangerous he is, but I can deal with this. It's private. Cecily's considering you, as if looking for a weak spot to strike. You have nothing to deflect her next blow with. Are you confident enough to endanger your loved ones too? Oh, come on! Don't fucking do this! This was such nice and wholesome. And now Crichton's gonna be like, okay, get out, please. You open your mouth to retaliate, but any arguments you might offer are overpowered by the thoughts of Glomer, of Bitcoin and Indari coming into harm's way because of you. It doesn't matter if the risk is small. If something were to happen to them that you could have prevented, you don't know how you could live with yourself. You can tell by the look in Cecily's eyes that she knows she's won. That's bad. Fuck you, Cecily. Your shoulders slump. Alright. It was about my ex Moirail. We grew up together. For the longest time, it had felt like he was the only person who really understood you. You squeeze your elbow, rub your arm, all these sweeps later, and it's still so clear in your mind. You didn't have a Lucis growing up, so for the most part it was just you and him, and the way he listened to you made you think he cared. At some point he started to get jealous when I'd meet other people and tried to make me spend time with him instead. Moirails should confide everything in each other. He said that often, even as he started to talk over you, make decisions for you, disregard your boundaries, then get upset whenever you pointed it out. He made you feel like you were losing your mind. Oh my god, poor Crichton. You pick up a marker on your desk and start twisting the cap this and that way. It got worse with time. You didn't realise how controlling he was being until well after it had become a natural part of your relationship. You keep fidgeting with the marker. The cap makes a soft click-click as you open and close it. He didn't agree with the choices I was making for myself, I guess. I think he was scared that if I changed, our relationship would too. He was right about that, if nothing else. It was so suffocating that part of me wanted to just drop whatever we argued about, when we did, every single time. It wasn't worth fighting with him. Cecily's quiet as you speak, but her features have softened into something like sympathy. He doesn't seem like he was a very good Moirail. You chuckle under your breath. That's the understatement of the Centenalia. He wasn't. You think back to the pressure he put you under, the constant arguments that came with him trying to make you do what he thought was right, how he tried to isolate you from others. That is abuse. Like, even if there's no hitting, that is abuse. At that point you were starting to recognise the abuse, so you stuck to your guns as much as you could. You drew strength from wherever you could find it, and the stories told by shows such as Utena gave you the inspiration to fight back, as silly as that might sound to others. It took me a while, but I eventually broke up with him. You wrap your arms around yourself. Your hand clutches the marker so hard that you can feel the grooves of the cap marking your skin. It hurts a little, but helps anchor you in the present. Oh, Crichton. It didn't go well, I'm assuming. You shake your head. We had a fight. You told him about the things he'd been doing wrong, why you decided you didn't want to be with him anymore. You tried to keep a level head and stay calm, but it mattered little. He said you were being unreasonable, blowing stuff out of proportion, that you needed him and you were making a terrible mistake. Not that any of it was surprising at that point. Am I still recording? I hope I am. This is so sad. This is really genuinely so sad. You knowed it would be hard going in, but the conversation was nearly too much for you anyway. He had a way of getting under your skin. He almost convinced you he was right, again. You take a deep breath and push your shoulders back. It got bad. I told him to meet me at the shore, but it ended up turning into a fight. It was your spot before everything went south. You used to find it so calming. The sound of waves crashing against the cliff. One misstep. Oh no! He was so close to the edge and neither of you noticed. You let out another breath, but this one comes out shaky. Click, click, the cap of the marker goes. Long story short, I made it back. He didn't. Something in the water took him. That was the last time I ever saw him. You never looked back. You never checked to see if he'd made it out. But that's one uncertainty you're content to live with. You put the marker back on your desk. I moved out some time later, came to the stronghold. You were able to start transitioning then, and got Platycat as an emotional support Lucis. You glance at her little bed by the wall and feel yourself smiling. In time you made some friends, met Gloma and the boys. You settled in. You don't have the weight of someone else's expectations bearing down on you anymore. You meet Cecily's eyes and conclude your story. I'm trying to move on from everything that happened before. And Ormsey threatened to bring it all back into your life. He did. He talked about my Moirail and the stuff he used to say and how I left him to die out there, that I betrayed him. But I didn't. I did what was right for me and the rest wasn't my fault. We were just teens anyway. It's not like I could have fought off whatever it was that attacked him. He's out of my life and I've moved on. I wish it hadn't been like that exactly, but the people I care about know what happened and they understand. So I told Ormsey that I wasn't scared of him, and that was that. Cecily's eyebrows arch. He left you alone after that? Yeah, I blocked him and he hasn't bothered me since. Much to your surprise, she smiles. Very subdued, but it's still there. Thank you for telling me this story, Crichton. I'm glad you've been able to leave it in the past. You try to return it, though it feels a little stiff. You don't think you're quite there yet. But you're trying. Crichton! This might sound presumptuous, but have you considered looking for a new moirail? Whatever sense of calm you're able to muster leaves you along with a sigh. You really wish people would stop asking that. I can't say that I'm interested. It honestly kind of annoys me that this is the immediate reaction I get most of the time. Like I have to be looking for a new moirail to comfort me or something. I'm not, I'm just talking about my experiences. I don't need a moirail, or want one really, not after all that. Your indignation simmers down to a heavy feeling in your chest. You fiddle with the marker again, rolling it a little from side to side. It's so frustrating, feeling like I shouldn't talk about this. Like I'm not allowed to share it with my friends or my partner because it's some sort of burden, the kind of thing you're only meant to discuss with a moirail. You sometimes wonder what it even means to be that to someone, whether you've ever actually felt that very specific sort of attraction towards someone. It all seems a little arbitrary to you. You clear your throat, shelving your thoughts for a better time, and return your attention to Cecily. I don't know, I'll figure it out at some point. You will. You have to. A loud ding startles you. Oh, it's finished decrypting! You scramble to read the new notification on the screen. You're just about ready to have this entire thing sorted. Is something the matter? Well, yeah, what it gave me? It's gibberish. I don't know what this is. You scroll through the file, hoping you might glean something, anything from the incomprehensible string of symbols. You find nothing. The room suddenly feels very cold. I see. You hazard a look at the regulator. Her arms are crossed, frustration rolling off of her in waves. She seems bigger somehow, like she's occupying more space than you need to cower away. You don't. You return to your computer, swallowing against the frantic beating of your blood pusher. This makes no sense. There must be something I can do with this output. Wait, Orica was able to decrypt an email that Noxia sent her, right? Yet another fool's errand. Her voice is cold and sharp like the blade of a sword. Fuck you, Cecily. Christ, I'm trying to help you, ma. No, there should be some way to do what? I am a technological neophyte, Crichton, but even I know you can't access information that isn't there. But it's got to be there because... The front door slams open, putting a loud and abrupt end to your objection. There's only one person who... What's up, boys? There we go! Bitcon sure knows how to make an entrance. You hadn't realised how late it had gotten. I should... You trail off, gesture towards the door and make a break for it. Hey! The boys! Bitcon and Indari make their way into the living room just as you do. Their arms are locked at the elbows in that easy, carefree way that seems to come so naturally to them. Already you feel yourself relaxing. Hello, Crichton dear. Apologies if me and Bits kept you two waiting. Hi guys, I'm glad you could make it. Did you doubt that we would? Of course we make it over for boys' time! Glober pokes his head into the room, looking all sleepy dishevelled. Don't know why I even thought I'd need an alarm. He hides a yawn in his elbow and waddles into the room, and Dari steps up to greet him. Oh, your hair is such a mess, love. Glober's grumbling is cut short when Indari leans in for a kiss. He murmurs something that you don't catch, flustered, as Indari fusses over the offending strands. You chuckle. The comfort of being around these three is a welcome relief after your tense interaction with Cecily. Crypto. Speaking of which, oh... The regulator stands at the threshold, glowering at him. The single word cuts through the air, sharp as a knife, and you realise you've taken a step back towards the others without noticing. Oh god. Ah, Miss Yupara, I didn't realise we'd have guests. Bitcon's smile has lost all its warmth. He stares at Cecily with an edge that nearly matches hers. Well, if it isn't our dear old friend Cecily. Had I known we'd been keeping the company of our esteemed regulator, I would have dressed accordingly. Perhaps something serious, stern and solemn, gracefully grave, an outfit befitting a matured individual such as yourself. Bitcon's like, old! Oh boy. Cecily folds her arms in front of her chest as if to ward off the bite of Bitcon's words. Such a curt response to my amicable array of alliteration. You might hurt my feelings, Miss Yupara. That's a risk I'm willing to take. You brace yourself from Bitcon's retort, already calculating the best way to defuse this, but he turns to you instead. May I ask what has won us this special guest appearance of the Chief Regulator herself? Oh, that's right. They don't know about Cecily's visit, do they? You quickly explain the situation. The more you speak, the more worry takes over everyone's faces. Oh dear. Bitcon folds his arms, his entire face scrunching up in distaste. Utterly deplorable. Whoever we're dealing with here must think it's some kind of sick party trick to toy with people's heads like a third-rate caricature of a villain. Exploiting people's fears in such a manner, as if we all aren't struggling enough as it is. You act so surprised. Your eyebrows shoot up as you turn to look at Cecily. The overt hostility of her tone is enough to put you right back on edge, fiddling with the ends of your sleeves. You have a bad feeling about this. I beg your pardon. Oh god. I would assume that you've had a fair amount of exposure to such characters considering your line of work. The psychology of our culprit, nice new sprites, might be even better understood through your expertise. Bitcon opens his mouth to say something, then closes it again. The hand he normally keeps on his hip falls to his side, limp. All of a sudden, the room is very still. A cold feeling settles inside your stomach, and you shoot a nervous glance at the Chief Regulator. The brewing conflict hangs heavy in the air. Your mind goes back to the sword at her hip. Oh no. What exactly are you implying here, Regulator? You need to defuse this before it spirals out of control. I'm sure she didn't mean to insinuate anything, right, Cecily? My apologies, Crichton, but I refuse to stand in the comfort of my trusted company and accept these accusations. You don't have a counterpoint. He's already turned to Cecily again. Who do you take me for, equating me to the monstrous behaviour of some sadistic black hat? Oh, nice. Lovely. Lovely. I love this. I thought you in particular might understand, Cecily, that I am more than my business persona. And for you to compare my character to that in front of the prime suspect in your little case in front of the boys is quite frankly impertinent. Cecily scoffs. The temperature in the room has dropped below freezing. Impertinent? You are going to talk to me about impertinence, after the little stint you pulled last time, actively obstructing my investigation? As though trying to defend myself wasn't the reasonable course of action, given that you came to my workplace ready to accuse me of murder! I was doing my job to prevent more people from getting hurt, present company included, which is more than could be said about you. Oh god. Now hang on there. Am I understanding correctly that you'd have me leave my life and dignity up to your discretion, so you can enact your personal understanding of justice? It's part of my duty to determine and uphold the demarcations of justice. I can't fucking pronounce words. Yet I'm the one being called a criminal. For a moment, the room's shocked into silence, then Cecily's voice lashes through it. I will advise you to hold your tongue, Crypto. Her hand comes to the hilt of a blade. Oh shit, your hands are shaking. Sirens are screaming in your mind, but you know you have to do something. But you find yourself paralysed, lost for words. Cecily, you got him fucked up again, man! Yeah, of course. You get people to fucking pull their hearts out and then you fucking go and threaten their friends. That's how fucking cop-like you are, stupid idiot. Fuck you, Cecily. God, Bitcon looks so fucking scared, dude. And Dari steps between Cecily and Bitcon, resting a hand on his chest. Chief Regulator, I refuse to let you threaten one of my partners. I think you need to leave. Yes! Male wife? She seems stricken for a moment, like she wasn't expecting Dari's reaction. She blinks in surprise, then averts her gaze. Ooh. And Dari's kind of reminded Cecily of herself again. Cecily Huff shakes her head, then lets go of her sword. Crichton Glomer, thank you for your hospitality and your assistance. I hope you have an enjoyable evening. I will let you know when I manage to find out more about Auntsie. The words tumble out of your mouth in a rushed mess. You're not sure why, an impulse to do some damage control maybe? You mostly just want her out of your place. She nods. Very well. Without another word, the Chief Regulator makes her way out of the room. Glomer and Indari step aside to let her through. Glomer's staring at his feet, but Indari holds his chin high, watching her leave. A few seconds pass. The front door opens and shuts. Oh shit. So, The boys again! That just happened. You let out a long unsteady breath. Your pulse still thrums in your ears. What a way to spend your day off. Gloma moves over to your side and rubs your shoulder. You let yourself relax into the touch. You okay, Cry? Yeah, I'm alright. What about you, Bitcon? I will recover. I've learned to associate my run-ins with the chief regulator with a certain distress. He's trying to brush it off, but he's pale and tense. One of his hands comes up to his neck, to the spot where Cecily injured him during their introductory altercation. Indari runs a soothing hand along his arm, and Bitcon laughs weakly. To think that I tried to cooperate with her in spite of everything, because I believed it was the right thing to do. After I had my own bout of fun, of course. Tell me, did she treat you in such a belligerent manner too, Crichton? No, it was okay for the most part, but she made me talk about my ex-Moirail. I tried to tell her it was personal, but... I'm sorry, dear. That must have been quite upsetting. It just got me thinking again. Why don't you find a new Moirail and all the other stuff people assume, you know? Lovely. I love these little scene pictures. That I must absolutely be looking for a replacement of the person who hurt me so badly. I almost died, but I can't even tell what was worse. The way he treated me or the aftermath of everything. Feeling like maybe it was all my fault, like if I'd only been a better Moirail. Seriously, fuck that. None of that bullshit was your fault. It was so hard to learn to believe that, especially when I keep getting that reaction. And like, I managed to move on, but how many people are stuck in similar situations, just accepting their mistreatment because they're soulmates who are meant to be or whatever? And even if they do leave like I did, the systems that are supposed to support them are just a clusterfuck of bureaucracy. Quite so. All the requirements to qualify for a temp are ridiculous. Yeah, especially if you don't experience withdrawal. It's great to be made to feel like your pain doesn't matter because you never bonded. Honestly, I was so lucky to even be able to get Platicat. You push your glasses up to rub your eyes. You're surprised you don't have a headache yet. I don't know, I just wish things were different. Tell me about it. We both ended up screwed in the Moirail department, didn't we? Oh, we're going for Glombat! You're so sweet to me, Gloma. Gloma pauses and rolls his eyes slowly and pointedly in Indari's direction. It only makes him giggle. With my previous Moirail, before Indari's presence illuminated my sorry excuse for a life and restored my belief in more allegiance. Anyway, funny how you can have this person who's like, yeah, I'm always going to be there for you and help you. And the next thing you know, they're just like, just kidding, I'm not going to do that at all actually, and also, fuck you. Like, I thought that was what commitment meant, but I guess the fuck not. Care and support and understanding? Nah. I get divorced instead. Very cool, very helpful. Guess you're too busy having fun with all your cool new friends in some swampy paradise. It's fine, it's not like you ever really cared about my feelings. Glom, darling. Fuck, I just needed him to be there, but plant plague or not, I would have been fine. Whatever. I'm over it. Not gonna lie though, it still drives me mad that I showed him a part of myself I'm not proud of, and his response was to get mad and leave. What's wrong with me, LMAO? Oh, Gloma. Even my fucking cast won't stop giving me shit. The fact that Hamifi hasn't tossed me out yet is a fucking miracle. They treat me like I do everything wrong. I'm so tired of those uppity assholes. Excuse me of my Jade Blood family. God, when do I get to just be me? Seeing Gloma like this makes your chest hurt. You wrap your arm around his shoulders, hoping that it might convey some of the love you have for him. He plops his head against your shoulder with a sigh. Indari moves closer to squeeze his hand too. I think I understand how you feel, Gloma, at least in part. His voice is quiet, thoughtful. He seems to be weighing each word as he speaks. Are we going to get to learn the boys' trauma? Trauma time with the boys! All the scrutiny is just exhausting, isn't it? It was nearly overwhelming when I was younger, the expectations and demands. I'm not laughing! I'm just shocked that, like, yeah, this is trauma time with the boys. I tried to find a community where I could run away from it. My hopes were thoroughly misplaced, of course. It's the worst feeling when you realise that. Certainly. Not to be melodramatic, but it felt like my entire world was falling apart. Eventually I knew I had to leave. But I still carried so much guilt for wanting to, despite being sure it was the right decision for me. I've let go of that guilt now, but I catch myself sometimes thinking that maybe I was wrong, I was simply not good enough. You're more than good enough, and don't you ever forget that. Yeah, I don't say that lightly, but Bitcon's right. Bitcon's grin is almost as bright as it usually is. I am more often than you give me credit for, my dear friend. I'd say don't let it get to your head, but I think it's a bit too late for that. A ripple of laughter carries between the four of you and the somber mood lets up. Your aches are all still there, but they don't crowd the room like they did such a short while ago. This is so fucking wholesome! How can people not like the boys? Like, people might not like Bitcon at first, but that's because we're seeing it through, like, from the biased view of, like, a violent cop. Not when these three are with you to keep them at bay. Oh, I'm gonna cry! Bitcon clasps his hands together. In any case, I came here for an evening of companionship and anime. I want to enjoy the few things I'm lucky to have. Yeah, same. I'd lose my mind without you guys. Indari's eyes soften with fondness. You can feel a distinct sting in your own. I appreciate your company more than I can say. Me too. I was really looking forward to spending time with all of you. Bitcon starts to say something, but the chime of his phone in his pocket cuts him off. A soft, vulnerable expression settles on his face. Oh, Davino. He casts a look around the group, biting his lip. You have little doubt about who's texting him. Is it Davino, or...? It's rare to see him look so uncertain, but given his circumstances, it isn't surprising. Oh, if you're not like in the Vast Era fandom itself, who Davino is Bitcon's Moirel, who was made by the person who created Bitcon's partner. You hope you'll be able to tell them soon. Oh, love. Why don't you answer Davino? Yay! While we set up our movie. Apparently Davino and Indari are like best friends. Like, not Moirel friends, but best friends. I love the fucking, like, extra thing we have. I love Davino too. I love non-binary people in suits. Bring us some drinks when you're ready. Yes, yeah. Bitcon nods and gives Indari a kiss before he pulls his phone out. It's easy to fall into your usual rhythm here. Gloma sets up the TV while Indari grabs some blankets and cushions for everyone and you go find the DVDs. Bitcon's voice carries from the kitchen along with the sound of glasses clinking. Some more of your tension melts away. When you settle on the couch with Gloma's head on your shoulder again, things are back to feeling alright. Did someone request some refreshments? Yes please, sweetheart. Maybe try using your inside voice for once while you're at it. Inside voice? I've got no such term in my personal dictionary. What, pray tell, does it mean? You're giggling while Bitcon distributes the drinks. He sits down next to Indari and then Gloma's reaching for the remote to start the movie. You kiss his cheek. So the episode we're going to be starting on is another Nanami one, and it's very heavy on the codependency themes again. It's also meant to parallel other relationships in the show, but I'll go into it after we've finished watching. Oh, the boys! The boys! I love the boys! I adore the boys! I love them! Anyway, that was Crichton's route, and I'm going to fucking cry. So, yeah. Pretty appropriate. So, there you go.